minute early. Well, let's see. I think I've maybe got this down a little bit. So this is my second day. If you look, I've got about 3 clips. So I've got the sound over here. Want to make sure it's working.
Starting engine 2.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so my name is Mac. I'm a retired airline captain, also air traffic controller for 20 years in the Navy and the FAA. I've been retired since '07. I got caught by the age 60 rule. So when I retired, if you turned 60, you couldn't fly anymore. So my last day was November the 12th of '07. So what we have is we're using X-Plane, and we're using JR Designs Airbus 320 Neo with Neo wingtips. Also, I got Pratt and Whitney engines on it. And that's because when you see the other engines, you'll understand why I've got these. So there's my packs and cargo. And this has all kinds of like catering trucks and fuel trucks, but I also have a program called Ground Handling Deluxe, which is also made by JAR Designs, and it's got quite a bit more equipment. And as you can see, it. So let's put some stuff out here. We've already got a GPU, so we don't need that. How about a catering truck, baggage loader, baggage container loader, uh, catering truck for the rear? How about some steps? Get in the plane, an ambulance, a bus, trailer hauling baggage, and a fuel truck. We can call those up, and here they come. Also, the doors open automatically when this equipment comes up, so um, that's kind of nice. So we've got chocks and cones by our wingtips, and the airplane itself, like I said, has some of this stuff. That's where my GPU came from. In X-plane, the jetways don't move up to the airplane. We're in Kansas City. We're at gate 81. The Our flight today is going to be from Kansas City to St. Louis. This is kind of cool. The baggage comes up and have a little baggage there on the conveyor belt going up. The As you can see, the doors are opening now because the catering trucks are pulling up. The gas truck just pulled up and hooked his hose up, and here's a controller so we can tell him how much gas we want. Um, Here's the container loader, and there's a container on it. And in a minute, another tug with trailers will come up with containers on it. There's my ambulance. The bus is out there with the people on it. and the two jetways or stairs are hooked up to the airplane. So you can get different paint jobs for your aircraft. I just like the Frontier with a lion on the tail. So we're going to kind of start off with a dark airplane, even though I have done some preliminary things, and I'll show you what those are. I use a program called Sim Briefing, and I already started a new flight and put all the information in. And it's really nice because it generates, I always do this. That's the route of flight, so don't put your mouse over it. And then it's got a briefing, all the paperwork, just like the real crew gets at the gate from dispatch. They print it out on a printer, hand it to the crew. It's got all your information on it. Tells you how many people, how much fuel you're going to carry. It gives you a weather brief. It talks about notice to airmen. It just got all kinds of cool stuff. And you can download that file for your route. Here's a JAR Designs Airbus. I've already downloaded it, put it in the correct folder. And so when we go to program the FMS on the MCDU, it will automatically load the correct, that's the whole brief. It's long, lots of information. For those of you that may not be familiar with that type of information, there's just more there. I mean, you could spend the whole flight reading this thing. But of course, the crew knows exactly where to go and what to look for specific things. So, an example here's the flight log. So it shows all the waypoints and the distances and the times and the altitudes and the temperatures and the fuel used, and it's just really detailed. And then it says when we land at St. Louis, we'll have 2,400 kilograms of fuel. I'm not really much into metric, but this airplane is because it was designed overseas, and of course, Airbus is made overseas, but our airplanes in the United States had pounds, but this has kilograms. So once you get used to, I think the conversion is like 2.4. So if it says that we're going to have 7,654 kilograms, if you multiplied that times 2.4, you get the pounds. Well, it says here that the maximum takeoff weight is 78,000 pounds. The maximum landing weight is 66,000 pounds. The maximum zero fuel weight is no fuel. Maximum weight is 62,500. So the rest of the load would be the fuel. Now, our estimate is we're going to weigh 68,000 pounds for takeoff. We're going to land right at 66,000, and our zero fuel weight is 60,532. This flight is limited by maximum landing weight. So, airliners and even small airplanes, you can't put full fuel, full passengers, full bags, and go. There are some limitations. And in an airliner type aircraft, one of the limitations is the max landing weight. So we can't weigh over 66,000 pounds when we touch down in St. Louis. Therefore, with the fuel burn, so the trip burn is about 2186. So if you add that to the 66,000, you get the 60. Well, that's not true, but oh, I see. Minimum takeoff fuel is 66 154. So if you add that to the 66, you come up to 68. And those of you that do math will go, yeah, it's not right. But anyway, we are limited by the 66,000 pounds. And then the dispatch release has this nice disclaimer some lawyer put on there that said the captain did everything he was supposed to do, and if anything goes wrong, he's in big trouble. And that's just the way airline flying is. All kinds of flying is. Pilot in command is responsible for what happens. And this dispatch release also has all kinds of MEL, CDL. Those are items that can be broken on the airplane, but we can still fly the airplane. And we got a whole book of those, and it looks like there's nothing wrong. And our route of flight, which Simbri figured out, is these items across here. And then if you go farther down, it's got the weights, the times. Like I said, there's the flight log, winds aloft information, the flight plan, and then the big thing. And here comes the weather. So the weather, the area weather, the weather in Kansas City, the weather in St. Louis, our alternates Memphis, so that weather's there. And then you get the notice to airmen, and the notice to airmen is everything that's wrong with everything. So if there's a taxiway that's closed, or they changed a crossing altitude on the SID or the STAR or the approach. So what you do is you have to go through all of the stuff and find stuff that would affect you. So if you know you're going to land east at St. Louis today, you really don't have to look at all the stuff for the westerly runways. But you do care about the easterly runways. And there's Memphis and all the problems noticed to airmen that they've got down there. And let's keep going down here. Crew alerts, auto cost indexes. We're going to talk about putting the cost index into the FMS, the MCDU. And that's a specific cost index number that is used by the aircraft to figure out the best altitudes to fly and the best route to fly. And pretty interesting. Here's our route of flight right there. And the winds aloft, pretty cool there. And then this one's a really neat one. It shows the climb, cruise, and descent and what the winds aloft are along the route. And that's the end of the document. So that's a cool program to have. And also you'll want to have the AirRink cycle. What that is that's the most current data for this period of 8 October 2020 to 4 November 2020. And you subscribe to that also. So again, the airline that we are call sign was a virtual airline. I don't think they're around anymore. It's called Catfish Air. That's a number that I really like, and so that's why I use it. And we're going Kansas City, St. Louis, Memphis, flight level 270. Today, the time 21:05, which is about now. The flight time is only 41 minutes. That's part of the zero fuel weight landing weight problem. We're not really going to use much gas. And the block time is from the time we push back until we pull back into the next gate, and that's 1 hour and 9 minutes. There's the block fuel, 7,854 kilograms, and down here you can see where I put 8,000 pounds on board. And I wanted a little extra fuel, and So there's our takeoff weight. Here's our route of flight, and this is the information about where they got their information. There again is another map. Here's the route of flight down to Memphis for the alternate. And then the rest of that's what I just showed you. So that's pretty useful to have. Put that out of the way. Also, a program that I use is the nav charts called Navigraph. And this is just like having your own electronic flight bag. So the flights that we have today is Kansas City to St. Louis. And it gives you all kinds of options. It gives you airport information. It gives you all the charts. What I've done is I've pinned some of those charts down here to the bottom. So I've got the Kansas City taxi chart. We're parked right about here. And we're going to take off on runway 1 left, I believe. And that shows you how to get there. Remember, the ground controller is going to say taxi via, and then all the ways he wants you to go to get to the runway. And you have to read that back, so you better have a pad of paper there. We don't have a standard instrument departure out of Kansas City because the standard arrival route for St. Louis starts almost right at Kansas City. So that's what I've got next. This Napoleon VOR is just about 40 miles from KCI, Kansas City International. So we can take off, go direct there, and then fly that arrival. And then I've got the approach to runway 6, ILS to runway 6. And some of the data that we're going to input is on here. One is the MDA, or the decision height, the course, the frequency. We're going to use all of that. And then the airport layout at St. Louis. Going to land on runway 6. And again, the taxiways and stuff to get over to the gates. You definitely want to have all that information handy, because once you land, you better know where you are, where you're going, and you don't want to accidentally cross one of these, which could be an active runway. Now, again, ground control is going to tell you how to get to the gate, and if they're only using runway 6 and not using these runways, he could say taxi via Papa, cross all runways to the ramp. That'd be nice to hear. Okay, so that is Navigraph, which is the charts. So let's put that away right now. And we can go back to the airplane. As you see, they've loaded all the bags. We'll say that they've done all the catering. We've done the fuel. The people are loaded on, so we can actually get rid of all that stuff. Well, let's do that next. Plug-ins, ground handling, show the control, and get rid of the stuff you don't need. And as you see, it's all closing down and leaving. That's a pretty cool little add-on for your flight sim so that you can make it more realistic. There, the doors are going closed. On one of my flights, the rear left door was open. Doesn't look like it is today, though. So everybody's leaving, and our ground power unit is still there. Because remember, we used a different one. So let's go inside, and it's a dark airplane. So in actuality, we would have powered it up for the passengers. So here's the overhead panel, and when you get your type rating on the airplane, you learn every system and location. And so the first thing we're going to do is turn on the batteries and select the external power, and that will power up the airplane. So here's the screens coming on. The next thing we need to do is we need to program the inertial guidance system in an Airbus. And it's this panel right here. So we'll put it on position, turn it on to system one, and then we've got to align these inertial reference systems. So it would be nice if it would do it. There it goes. So it's aligning that one. It says on battery. And you turn each one of these on, three of them. Whoops, didn't do that. And when the battery light goes off, turn on the other third one. And when it goes off, you hit this enter button and it puts that in the ADIRS. Well, you might want to look that up in inertial reference system. Okay, so we can turn on the seatbelt sign and arm the emergency lights. That arming, what happens is if you would lose power, they would automatically come on for you. And we can look at the ECAM screens. Of course, that's the engine one. Here's another engine one. You got an information area down here that talks about a whole bunch of different stuff like the seatbelt, no smoking is on, the landing gears down. That's always smart. Parking brakes on, and IRS will align in 7 minutes. So it takes 7 minutes. That was kind of fast, but then the screens come up. Now over here on the ECAM, you can select, that's the engine. There are the bleeds, the cabin pressurization, the electrics. So we've got external power. So external power is bringing it up, going through the transfer units to the DC buses, and of course the batteries. So the main engine generators aren't on yet, and neither is the APU. Right now on the ground, the temperature is 13 degrees, the time is 20:30, and our gross weight is 64,000 pounds. There's the hydraulics. So one of those systems run off electric, and then the rest of them are engine driven. There's our fuel. So how much fuel is in each tank? Got 5 tanks. And of course, it's not going to the engines because the pumps aren't on. Fuel on board is 8,000 kilograms. Here's the APU, which is not running yet. There's the air conditioning. The doors are all green, so they're closed. The wheels, it shows the temperature. Oh, it also shows the PSI. Flight controls. Remember I said there wasn't any hydraulics, so if you move the joystick, nothing happens. And then there's a takeoff configuration warning here. See, if you push it, it shows a bunch of stuff has not been done. And my headphones just went. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear me. Okay, let's go into the FMS and program it. So we need to input a bunch of data. So one thing we're putting in is where we're taking off from. and where we're going. And those line select keys is where you put it. And this is saying that, hang on just a second. Since I just heard these headphones go off, I don't think they're going to work. And let's see, I guess I could assume that the microphone in the iMac is going to pick it up. You know what assume means? I guess I can't really say that on Twitch. So, let me get another headset. The problem is how do you connect it? Okay. Well, let's see what we got here. You'll have to bear with me while I